He's a professor of evolutionary behavioral science and the author of The Parasitic Mind, How Infectious Ideas Are Killing Common Sense. It comes out in paperback form in the next week. Check it out. Gad, always good to talk to you. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you tonight is this is not particularly or not exclusively an American problem, but this is a growing sentiment, this expectation for less, this divorce from the meritocracy across Western civilization.
Indeed. I'm glad that you mentioned Karl Marx and Stalin, because I had a quote all loaded and ready for you. E.O. Wilson, the Harvard evolutionary biologist who studies social ants, in referring to communism and socialism, he said, "Great idea, wrong species," meaning that creating equality, this utopian equality across all members of society, is a wonderful way to organize society. If you are a social ant, you only have one reproductive queen and everybody else is indistinguishable from one another. That's not the case for humans. Humans are heterogeneous species, right? Some of us are taller, shorter, better looking, harder working, lesser harder working, better athletes. And it is those individual differences that create the variety, the spice of life, right? The variety is the spice of life. And so when you try to create an ethos that is contrary to human nature, you end up having the types of problems we're having now.
And Gad, I think I want to ask you, what idea, you talk about the parasitic mind, what parasitic idea, can it be explained by communism? Can it be explained by Marxism? Can it be explained by socialism? What is the idea that is poisoning this culture of excellence?
Well, I think there's several parasitic ideas. The one that I call the granddaddy of all parasitic ideas is postmodernism. It's a movement that started in the universities about 40, 50 years ago. It purports that there are no objective truths. We are shackled by subjectivity, we are shackled by our personal biases, and therefore to speak about some universal truth is inappropriate according to that framework. Well, you could imagine how anti-scientific that is, because it basically argues that my lived experience, my truth, is just as good as any other truth. And therefore, it's easy to then conclude that if downstream we have any differences between individuals, right, it can't be due to any universal differences amongst people. It must be because of some bigotry, and therefore we must redress that bigotry through some intervention strategy.
It's a problem not just for America. It's not a problem for just every one of us as individuals, but it's a problem for Western civilization as a whole. And you always are good at putting into context. Gad, Saad, so good to talk to you tonight.
Thank you, sir.